Brent Phillips here. I'm a real estate investor. I've been investing for many years, but several years ago, I learned about mobile home park investing. I'm here at one of our mobile home and tiny home communities right now as we speak. And since I learned about this, I've been buying a park about one or two every year. We've acquired about 7 parks since I started learning about investing in mobile home parks, RV parks, small home communities. Affordable housing is what it's all about. I do this very part-time, and I tell you what, I don't regret my decision to begin investing in these parks. If you'd like to learn more, there's a video here, stay tuned for it, that I did with my friends over at a self-directed IRA company, talking about how this business model works and how you can invest in parks either actively, as I do, in your spare time, or passively as a private lender, either with your own cash or with the self-directed IRA. A majority of our deals that we do are financed by passive private lenders. So if this is interesting to you, stay tuned for a video that's about to play after this, and feel free to reach out, connect with me, shoot me a comment, hit me up. One way or another, I'd be glad to help you out if I can, help you get started investing in mobile home parks.
Perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and take myself off here, and then you can take over.
All right. Well, excited to be here with everybody. Yeah. So let's just dig into it. I know we're on a tight timeline, and it's a Saturday, so I'm going to be respectful of you guys' time and do as best I can to give you as much as I can about kind of mobile home park investing, mobile home parks 101 in our short time here together. And I'll also provide you some information and resources if mobile home park investing is something that you're very interested in, as I am, then I'll kind of point you in the direction of where you can get some more information. So let's just start here. So after doing hundreds of single family deals, I bought a mobile home park. All right. So why would I do that? After I've done hundreds of single family deals, single family deals is kind of looked on as kind of the ideal investment. And I'm not saying it's not really, really great, but I'm going to share kind of what are some reasons that opened my eyes to this. Just very briefly, here's my quick bio or credibility, or really I call this like, why in the heck should I listen to you, Brant, slide. So I started investing about 15 years ago. My wife and I were living in an apartment. We were extremely broke. We were just getting started out, had paid off like student loans, credit cards, had no money. And then I learned about real estate investing and how to do no money down deals and things like that. And so I began investing in 2007. I was able to buy 10 rental properties that year. I was able to buy 10 rental properties in 2008, all while working a full-time job. And I went full-time into real estate investing in 2009. A big thank you, and big in part, I was able to make that leap and go full-time was when I began learning about private lending, private capital, Quest IRA. I began going to their networking events in 2008 or 2009, I should say, is I think when I went to some of my first Quest events back up when they were under a different name of Interest, and been working with Quest and their clients ever since. We've raised tens of millions of dollars through doing hundreds of single family deals, mobile home park deals, RV parks, subdivision developments, land deals, commercial, you name it. I've done just about all of it, written a few books on various subjects in real estate, from flipping houses to private lending, general investing type of information. And all of that being said, aside from, some accomplishments on the personal side of things and family, the thing I'm most proud of that I think ties into this presentation is after doing hundreds of deals in various areas of real estate, I've can proudly say that I have a 100% track record of performance with all of my lenders. And so I'm not saying that to brag or to boast or to impress, but to impress upon you the importance of understanding your investments, and also understanding, if you're watching this from a lender perspective, is understanding your borrower's business model, their strategies, and how they're going to perform in an up or down market. And I've been very, very adamant on building a very sustainable business model that, has a bit of a conservative approach. I'm not going to lie, but that approach has done me, been very, very good to me in up and down markets and things like that. And that's kind of a little insight into why I love, mobile home park investing, in addition to some of the affordable housing investment strategies that we utilize on the single family front. So let's get into this. Okay. So we do have a problem. We've got a lot of problems in the world right now. I'm not going to lie. Right. So anyone knows that. But in the real estate market, share of virtual hands, like anyone sees some problems in our real estate market, right? So we've got some problems and challenges in the real estate market, and started noticing some writing on the wall even many, many years ago. And really what I saw from my view of, mainly main focus on single family real estate, and drill down a little bit deeper, focus on affordable housing. When people, when I talk to people about my single family business model, the way I typically explain it is I say that I like to invest in medium price housing and below. Okay. Medium price housing and below. I don't like to invest too far north of the median housing price point, because I lose flexibility, I lose exit strategies, and I lose options, and I basically get closer to painting myself into a corner on a deal, and I don't like to do that. I like to invest in affordable housing because I typically have multiple exit strategies. I can flip these properties, I can rent them, I can owner finance them, I can wholesale them. I have a lot of various ways that I can monetize those deals, make money, and be sustainable. Excuse me. So a few years ago, many, many years ago, slowly but surely, I started seeing more and more investors come into the market, more investors obviously being attracted to real estate, being attracted to, real tangible assets, and basically supply and demand, right? Like supply was shrinking, demand was growing, right? And so there we were. So I started looking at some ways where I could still, invest sustainably without not as much competition, to be quite honest. So I just started looking for areas and some opportunities there. And then at the same time, the other thing that's been going on all along is government, as we've all seen, has been printing money, and the idea of affordable housing, which is kind of what I've, built my business on, is providing affordable housing products to the rental market, to the owner finance market, to the retail flip market. And it's going away. Okay. That's going away. A few years ago, median price housing was $225,000. Now it's $325,000, $350,000, $375,000. I read something the other day here in the Houston market, that median price housing is going to be $500,000 pretty soon, right? These are kind of talking about California numbers here in Houston. So the long story short is that there is a problem in our real estate market, and that main problem that we're going to address today is really affordability. Okay. The American dream of owning your own home is really, it's vanishing before our eyes for your lower middle income folks. And that's makes me sad. Right. And so I also understand that when there's a problem, there's an opportunity. So when I really started looking at this problem about affordability, I started kind of just like, okay, what are some options? What are some solutions? So I basically started to poke around and start looking around into mobile home parks, right? So I had seen some investors who were investing in mobile homes and mobile home parks. And honestly, I had my mental stigmas. I didn't look much further than that, other than maybe some redneck jokes, a couple of buddies of mine who were doing it. And then I decided, you know what? I don't know if that's too wise to poke fun rather than to poke around and just get some more information. So I started reading, researching, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that I found. So here's what Forbes had to say. So Forbes had to say, in terms of, mobile homes and mobile home parks, that there's a lower cost per unit as compared to, say, for example, multifamily. There's a lower cost for repairs and maintenance in a mobile home park model, much lower, to be quite honest, versus a apartment. You're able to spread out your risk with a mobile home park as compared to, say, for example, single family investing. There is a huge demand for mobile homes for affordable housing. Much less tenant turnover. I'll get into in a minute why that is, but mainly it comes to ownership versus tenancy. You have a lot of mom and pop owners in the mobile home park industry, which means opportunity for us to get better deals versus dealing with, Blackstones of the world or these big hedge funds and REITs, et cetera, that own apartment complexes. And there's a lot less competition. There's a lot less competition when it comes to the mobile home park investing space. Number one, it's what I've already kind of hit on is stigma. A lot of investors just aren't looking at them because of the stigma. Okay. There's some other challenges getting into the space because of financing is not as easy to obtain as compared to like with a single family home or with an apartment complex. But, for anyone who's educated and informed like you guys are at Quest IRA, we just heard a second ago that there's 400 million plus in undeployed capital sitting at Quest. So we all know that money's not really an issue, right? It's just the ability to find good deals. And I've always said the private money kind of law of attraction, getting a deal done, is if you are operating in in integrity, and putting good deals together, that the money is going to come to you, right? And so that's the big deal. It's just finding really good deals and the money's going to come. So when I began doing my reading, researching, watching videos about the mobile home park space, this was the biggest eye opener for me. Okay. So we all know, if you see on the left there, Warren Buffett, that, we all know Warren Buffett's known to be, many say, the greatest investor ever. Well, a lot of people don't know that Berkshire Hathaway or Warren Buffett is basically the largest shareholder and owner of Clayton Homes, which is the largest manufacturer of mobile homes, also known as AKA manufactured homes. A lot of people don't know that. Number two, Warren Buffett is also the largest shareholder in 21st Century Mortgage. So 21st Century Mortgage is the largest financier of mobile homes. So that gets you like, kind of scratching like, okay, there's something there, right? And then to the right is a gentleman named Sam Zell of Equity Lifestyle Properties. So if you've never heard of Sam Zell, he's the Michael Jordan, he's the Tom Brady, he's the GOAT of real estate investing that many people have never heard of. If you look at Sam Zell's track record, you name it, he's done it big. He's probably done it bigger than anybody else. I'm talking multifamily. I'm talking skyscrapers. I'm talking shopping malls, commercial, storage, you name it, subdivisions. The guy's done it, and he's done it at a massive, massive level. Okay. And I heard this story from Sam, and he wrote a book, and he wrote a little bit about mobile home parks and his venture into mobile home parks in his book. It was not a book about mobile home park investing. It was just kind of like, a story. And the story was basically one of his companies was in the process of acquiring another company. And the company they were acquiring is, I don't know what it was, like a $70-80 million transaction, if I recall. Quote me on that. But one of the holdings of this company was a mobile home park. So he brought one of his guys in on his team and said, hey, I need you to fly out to this mobile home park, see what's going on out there, and figure out what we have to do to get rid of it. And this is in the mid 1980s, early 1980s, if I'm not mistaken. And so the guy goes out, checks it all out, looks at the part, reviews financials, all that kind of stuff. Flies back, tells Sam, he's like, you're never going to believe this, and Sam's like, what? It's worse than we thought, because there's the big stigma thing. He's like, it's worse than we thought. He's like, no. He's like, I've never seen anything like it. The thing's an ATM machine. It's printing cash. He's like, I've never seen it. It's all this cash comes in and very, very little liabilities or expenses. So long story short, they kept the mobile home park. They didn't get rid of it. And since then, they've gone on to build by far the largest portfolio of mobile home parks. Okay. They own close to something like 180,000 lots. I don't know how many parks that translates into. They have a lot of very big mobile home parks. But here's the piece that really got my attention, is that over the years, if you look at all of Sam's holdings and assets that he's had over the years, he's sold off half of his commercial, half of multifamily, half of storage, whatever asset class he's had, he's roughly sold off about half of his holdings over the years. But he's never sold a mobile home park. And when I heard that, I was like, wow. And if that's not an attention grabber, I don't know what is. It's just, if nothing else, it's just validation. So I made up my mind. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. And that was early 2018. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to, I'm very type A entrepreneur, real estate entrepreneur, doing hundreds and hundreds of deals, I kind of got to be, but I'm very type A. I take action, put together a quick plan. I take action. So that was by far the biggest eye opener. And then I've learned other things like, for example, and this isn't a part of my presentation, but on the commercial lending side, anyone care to guess what has the highest performance rate of all commercial loans? You guessed it, mobile home parks, believe it or not. So there's just a lot of misinformation or just lack of information really about the mobile home park space. And we get into things, the scarcity factor. Here's another thing is that, basically what it says, mobile home parks are becoming an endangered species because every year, there's roughly like 100 or so mobile home parks that are shut down, sold off because they're going to build a Starbucks or Home Depot, whatever they're going to build, an apartment complex. And that dirt actually has more value at some point in time in certain markets than operating as a mobile home park, which, just makes sense. But rather than an increasing supply of product like you see in multifamily, like you see in storage, like you see in single family, the mobile home park space is a decreasing supply. So think about this, guys. We've got increasing demand, which is affordability, and a decreasing supply. Where does that happen, right? In the real estate investing world, I've never seen anything like it, right? So this is what we call blue ocean opportunity. All those sharks, investors, everybody's swimming in this red ocean, fighting over deals, right? And they're marginalizing everything. Returns are going down. Now that Blackstone's like getting like $40 billion raised or $50 billion to get ready to go buy even more, single family if this correction and things continue. So this is really a blue ocean to me. Okay. So hopefully I have all your attention. If you weren't interested in mobile home parks, perhaps you are now. And so let's dig a little bit deeper. So let's define what mobile home park investing is to me, kind of mobile home park investing 101 that I've been taught and trained from my educational pursuits thus far, mentoring from one of the top mobile home park owners in the country. So mobile home park investing 101, number one, we own the land. Okay. We own the land. Number two, they own the home. Okay. It doesn't say we rent the home. It says they own the home. I believe in providing, home ownership, the opportunity of home ownership to everyone. That's one of, our goals, and one of our business models is to provide home ownership, not so much to rent homes. So we own the land, they own the home. Number three, this is one of the big things that we do. We provide and maintain the infrastructure, the utilities, the roads, the lighting, the signage, right? If you kind of look at the mobile home park investing model, you would very similar to a parking lot, all right? Like a paid parking lot. You pay money, you're going down to, watch the Houston Astros or the Rockets or whatever. You're going to find a parking lot or parking garage. You're going to pay money to park your car there. What are you going to get in return? Roadway, some lighting, things like that. Very, very similar, right? So we own the land, the dirt, and what do? We provide roads. Access to utilities does not mean that we pay for those utilities, but we make sure that there's the roads there's lighting, signage, and those utilities. My wife, is always hearing me on the phone, working deals and talking to people and contractors and business partners and things like that. When I started investing in mobile homes a few months later, 4 or 5 months later, whatever, some point in time, I got off a phone call and she's like, anytime I hear you talk about a mobile home park, you're always talking about the water or the sewer, and something to do with the utilities. And I'm like, yeah, because that's 80% of a mobile home park, right? Is what is the water source? What is the sewer, the septic? What are the roads like? Things like that. And that's a main part of what we do. And then you get to, number four, which is common area maintenance. If there's a park or, just common areas, yards, land, you got to maintain that. And then number five you probably may not see this on a lot of presentations, but enforcing the community rules and laws, and also to create the community. So what I found when I started buying my first couple of parks was there was definitely a culture there. And it wasn't a culture that we were okay with. It was not a culture that we were going to allow to persist. It needed to change. And I didn't mention this in my bio earlier, but I was in law enforcement for 7 years prior to going into the corporate world. And before I even went into real estate investing, that was kind of my background. So definitely having some law enforcement experience has come in handy when dealing with some of the, people that we've had to basically remove from some of our parks and whatnot, because when you buy a park that is run down, that let's just say has a poor culture, and there's some people that you got to get rid of. Okay. And because you have to create that community, you've got to enforce rules and laws, and you've got to steer the ship, turn that ship around to point in the right direction. Because if you don't, basically, they say the inmates are going to run the asylum, and we just can't allow that. Okay. So that's kind of mobile home park investing 101. But I want to make sure y'all understand this: is you own the home, you own the land, they own the home, whether they own it free and clear, whether they've got a loan through 21st Century Mortgage, or even if you own or finance these homes to them. And this is when I really started looking at the owner finance component of selling homes to residents through mobile home parks. That's when, honestly, that's like, I was like, man, this is like a match made in heaven for me, because I love owner financing and love passive income, not so much dealing with rentals and renters. That's not something I've enjoyed over the years. But my owner finance note portfolio, which, I've done a lot of owner finance notes over the years. It's been one of my favorite areas to invest in terms of a passive, predictable business model. Okay. All right. So let's do a quick little case study. This is actually the second park that I bought. The first park I bought was kind of a mixture, just to be quite honest with you. It had some mobile homes. It also had majority of RVs, like long-term RV residents and single family homes. So I don't like to do a case study on that one too much. It's a little bit bigger deal, a little bit complicated. This is a very, very easy case study to swallow, so to speak. And this is the first full mobile home park deal that I did. And I, even though I've done like a lot of real estate, we do have a saying in our business and with my team, it's small but mighty. Because even though we've done a lot of transactions, I'm very, very conservative, and I'd like to start things small, test them out, prove the concept before I build upon it. Because the most important thing to me is 100% track record, always performing and avoiding some of those catastrophes that you see investors do when they're taking on deals that are too big for them, or they're scaling too fast and things like that. So in that respect, even though I'm very type A, I'm a very conservative type A, if that makes sense. All right. So this is what we named this park Lone Star States. Had a different name at the time. Actually, I don't think it really had any name at the time. So we went with Lone Star States. We're considering branding this out over all of our Texas parks. Excuse me there. So we bought this October 31st, 2019. Started looking late 2018, early 2019 into the park model. And so we picked this one up on Happy Halloween. We bought this for $100,000. The seller was asking for $150,000. It's a 15-lot park. So to be quite honest, the story with this one was, and this was a mom and pop owner. And so if you recall, I mentioned earlier, the fact that there are a lot of mom and pop owners does mean that there's a lot of opportunity. So I was talking with the seller, and, I went under contract with them almost immediately. I drove up to East Texas. We talked on a Wednesday or Thursday, and I was up there the next morning. We met, walked the park, and I liked the deal. I was very anxious to get another one under my belt after getting my first one secured and kind of on the road to being stabilized. So I was a little bit anxious. And so I quickly put this under contract, for $150,000, put down a $5,000 non-refundable earnest money deposit. And after I started looking into the deal, it was only about 50% occupied. There were some more homes there, more than 50%, but who was really paying, and homes that we, when you factor in a couple homes we're going to have to demo and stuff like that, was about 50% park. So, I was essentially going to be paying about $20,000 per lot, which wasn't unreasonable. It wasn't horrible or anything. But as I started looking into the deal, I just realized, like, man, this is a small park. I really wanted something bigger. Ideally, it would have been a little bit closer, but the location was fine for me. And I went back to the seller, and I didn't even try to renegotiate. I just told him, I said, you know what? I kind of jumped the gun a little too early here. I think I'm going to be backing out of the deal. Nothing to do with you. Keep my earnest money. I actually believe that you've got a good park on your hands that you can definitely sell for 150. And I told him, I said, to be quite frank, I think you can sell probably for closer to 200, maybe even more, because of some of the benefits of this park. And these are really big things to know. The utilities, remember I talked about that earlier. This had individually metered electric, which is huge, rather than a lot of these parks are all bills paid, or they're not individually metered electricity. So this one was already done. It was individually metered water, which was huge. It had city sewer, which is huge as compared to septic, right? And then the water being city is a huge deal as compared to well water. I'm not going to get too in depth on well water. Be very, very careful with well water parks. I do own one, and it's been an absolute headache. I've worked through it, but it's been a headache and a very big expense. So those are three of the big things that you look at when you're doing your due diligence. And that was really, really great. And it has an ability to expand the park to 5, possibly even 10 lots with another acre or so land that it has. But back to my story, it was after talking or looking into the deal, I told the seller, I said, hey, I'm just going to back out. And they said, well, and at that point in time, there had been a lot of rapport. Went and met with them at their kitchen, at their house, and sat down at the kitchen table, worked through the deal. And there's trust and friendship there, really. And they said, well, we don't want to sell to anybody else. We don't want to sell to you. And I said, I understand. And I appreciate that. But, it's just not, there's not the squeeze. Basically, I can't remember how I told them the squeeze wasn't worth the juice, right? That for $150,000, a small park, that at the end of the day, it was going to be profitable, but just wasn't worth the time. I was going to move on, keep my earnest money, $5,000. And I did this like within a couple of weeks. So it wasn't like I took months of their time and backed out. It was like a couple of weeks. Hey, not for me. I'll even help you sell the thing. And they kept saying, we don't want to work with anybody else. We trust you. We like you. We're never going to take a cut apart. So long story short, they kept over the course of a week. Well, what if we sell for 140? What about 130? What about 120? What about 110? And I'm like, no, you guys are great. Let me help you sell it for more. And they said, Brant, would you buy the thing for $100,000? We've owned it for 15 years. We're ready just to retire, settle in. One of them had health issues. Like, we just want to be done. And I said, $100,000. How can I not say yes? So that's kind of shows the opportunity with dealing with mom and pops, that there is opportunity there that you can't find work. If you're buying from another real estate investor or a hedge fund or REIT, those types of deals just aren't going to happen. And the hedge funds and the REITs also, they're not buying the smaller parks. And I really do love the smaller parks now that I've been able to acquire a few of them. We've learned how to manage and operate them remotely. I even have parks in other states that are small mobile home parks that we operate remotely. So it's been a very positive learning experience. So this is from bestplaces.net. When you are looking at a park, just because it may be affordable on the investment side and small's not always a good thing. Okay. So you gotta be careful. When you're looking at mobile home parks in rural areas, I'm just going to urge you real, very briefly to do your due diligence, right? So when I look at a town that's, a 5,000 population and median home price of 78,000, you need to have some concerns here, right? So you want to see like a metro of 50 to ideally 100,000 in your metro, not necessarily that city, but the metro, like the general area. And ideally, you want to see your median home price above $100,000, $125,000, $150,000. So, because why is that? Because if median price housing is too low, now we're competing against homes, and we don't want to compete against stick-built homes, because if someone can afford a stick-built home similar to what they're going to pay for a mobile home park, then we're not really providing that affordable value that we want to add. But after I did a little bit more digging, even though Rusk is an incredibly small town, this is where our park is at. This is downtown. This is kind of the unofficial downtown, meaning there's a big grocery store in town is right there. There's a huge hardware store that you could throw a rock and hit from our mobile home park. There's many banks, restaurants, all that kind of stuff. There's a huge hospital here. So there's a hospital, all these major facilities. So this is a big point of employment that's about 1.5 miles away. It's like the largest mental hospital in the state of Texas. I don't know if that's good or bad, but there's a lot of people and jobs and things like that. So I got very comfortable with the size of the city because of its proximity to employment, work, and other things. Okay. So here's some pictures. It's kind of, your stereotypical, mobile home park, a little bit run down. There was a trailer here that had been that was being demolished, but I was told that had been in process for many years. So that was not a good thing. It's not only an eyesore, but a liability. Here's just some of the homes. Dirt roads. Homes not bad. This was not a home. This was just a storage shed we made the guy later move. But that, because we put in another home, mainly generate income. The homes, this was not terrible, but it wasn't great, right? Like you got a broken down basketball goal here, just dirt roads. And, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. So we went to work. We did not put concrete or blacktop or anything like that down. We did some work on the roads, demolished some of the older homes. This home, at the time I took this picture, this home was being renovated. We bought it from a lady, and the owner fixed up another home, moved her into that one, and then we renovated this one and sold it also with owner finance. You can see some other things that we did. We just put a lot of rock down. We went 2 or 3 more times and put more rock down. Painted did some work on the fencing, put commercial mailboxes. There's a commercial mailbox, just some little things like that. Just clean and green, safe and functional. Got out, demolished a couple of homes. Since then, we've put in some new homes. If you see this home on the left, this is an old rundown home. That's it after we renovated it. Now, when I say we renovate these mobile homes, we renovate them very similar to single family homes. I probably over renovate a little bit, but we're not looking to do the slumlord model. We're actually looking for long-term homeowners that are going to have a pride of ownership. And so we'll spend $20,000 or $30,000 on some of these homes very, very quickly. We do them. I just say that we do them right, and it's very clean and functional housing. You do some little marketing to say, hey, kind of establish some rules and kind of change, culture, I guess, begin to set that culture. Is like we've got signage putting there and kind of putting out the message that we're looking for homeowners. We're not looking for renters. Why keep renting? This is actually one of our other parks. I think we put the wrong picture in here. We put the similar sign in all of our parks. Okay. We've got, established a little presence on the web, their website, and go on to some numbers real quick, and then we can just open up for some Q&A. But I won't get too much into a little spreadsheet I put together. But yeah, we bought the home for $100,000. I'm sorry, the park for $100,000. Some feasibility phase 1 studies, attorney's fees, and all that were pretty minimal. Now, since then, we've put about $225,000 into this park. Some of it's CapEx, some of it's actually, buying homes, renovating homes, demolishing homes, road work. So we've spent a lot of money in this park. I, personally, I'm about getting close to being all in this park at $400,000. We've got 2 lots left to fill, but we've already purchased 1 home that has to be delivered, set there, et cetera, et cetera. And then we'll be at full occupancy, hopefully by the end of the year, got to bring in one more home, infill that lot, and be at 100%. So yeah, so long story short, a total cost all in, plugged in, a 5-year sales price at, of 650 and selling this around at an 8 cap. My goal of my parks when I do quick analysis, when someone sends me a deal, is I want to say, hey, number one is, can I be close to like even a break even status from like day one or in a very, very short time frame? I don't like to take on properties or parks that are like 0% occupancy. I will consider them. I'm actually looking at one right now if the numbers make sense. But I like to be close to like break even status or have a very, very quick time frame to get there, so that we can just get into, adding value, infilling lots, and being positive cash flow, and then like moving towards like an exit. So on this one, ideally, I would also like to see where, hey, can I double our investment or whatever our capital, whether that be borrowed per my own cash, whatever investment total all-in cost that we have, can we double that within a short period of time as well? Okay, so that's kind of what I look at to say, hey, is this a key indicator? That's a key indicator of a decent deal. So I kind of projected this out at a 650 sales price in 5 years at around an 8 cap. So this kind of shows you, having 11 lots filled, 13 lots filled is where we're at now. We're actually at 325 on lot rent. We're going to be going up to 350 next year, actually. And then eventually all 15 lots filled at $400,000 is going to basically bring us, from having little to no, operating income to, getting the $60,000 range. Expenses. So this is kind of a little bit thrown off here, but if you see here, the industry standard is somewhere in that 30 to 40% range. I believe we'll be around the 20% range. So the way that we're doing some things with virtual management and stuff like that, I know some other groups are doing, but I don't think a lot are doing. But there's a real beauty to the expense portion of this business model when you really look at, they own the homes, we own the dirt. And then when you own dirt with city utilities, there's ways to get expenses incredibly low. And so that's why I like it. So at the end of the day, if this thing operates as projected, and I think these are pretty conservative, should do quite a bit better than this, at the end of the day, that this is going to be, somewhere around, 230 net profit cumulative at the end of the day, small little mobile home park. So, that's just a quick case study. If you like that, the idea of owning a mobile home park, or maybe being, passively invested in one of these, interests you, then I would encourage you to continue, doing your due diligence and things like that. So a couple of quick questions I think we're going to open up in a minute, but a couple of questions that I want to address first is, so how can I use the self-directed IRA to invest in mobile home parks? Well, you guys know the answer to this question is either, you call Quest, give Quest a call and say, hey, I want to invest in a mobile home park. How do you do that? Now, you're going to need to identify your own asset and stuff like that, which I think brings me to the next question. But, the simple answer to this question is, when it comes to investing with your self-directed IRA, it's something you can do yourself, right? Go and do what I do and other investors do, which is go identify a park and property and things like that, and use your self-directed IRA if you have that capital available to do that deal in your IRA. Or you may just look at investing passively into someone else's deal, into someone else's mobile home park through your IRA. I'll tell you, personally, my strategy, I have a self-directed IRA. My family has a self-directed IRA. And my personal strategy is that I actually don't do deals in my IRA. What I do is I lend money, and I lend cash, lend capital. I lend in my IRA to other investors to do their deals, because that's very easy on the self-directed IRA portion side of things, right? That's easy to do. Owning a physical real estate asset in your IRA, I'm not giving anyone, specific advice. I'm just saying, do your own due diligence, because there is more red tape. There's more legalities with going that route, but that may be something you choose to do. I choose to lend out my IRA capital to other people, and lend out my cash to other people as a lender, because that's easier for me. But do your own due diligence on that. But if you do identify either a park that you want to take buy in your IRA, or an investment opportunity with another investor, then just reach out to Quest and they're going to help you get all of that set up. Another question is, what is the best way to locate a good mobile home park deal in a challenging market? Well, it's not easy to find good deals. Okay. So you do have to set up a marketing plan, so to speak. You need to, what I say, open up lead valves and figure out a way to bring deals to you. The probably the easiest way for a mobile home park is going to be through a commercial broker. You can do direct mail. You can do driving for dollars and cold calling. You can do all the other strategies that work for mobile home parks. We're actually finding some deals through SEO marketing, believe it or not. But if you're just kind of looking for one strategy that's not going to cost much money or time, I would begin talking to commercial brokers and deal with mobile home parks. You can also look at places like LoopNet and things like that. Mobile home park store is also another great area to find some deals. Well, guys, I'm going to wrap up here. I do have a YouTube channel if you want to check that out. It's called Real Estate Fundamentals. I've got some videos. I've got some playlists about mobile home parks. I do some walkthroughs, do some case studies as well there if you're looking to learn some more information. And if there's a QR code there, if you're interested in learning more or reaching out to me, you can hit that questionnaire and that will shoot a message to me and my team, and we'll be glad to help you out with any questions you have. But that being said, I think we're going to open this up to others, but I don't know how to do that. Oh, hey, you may be muted, Zach.
Oh, yes, I was.
Yeah, okay.
There we go. All right. So thank you so much for that, Brent. We do have a couple questions in the chat, so I'll go ahead and bring them up. First one is from Lee, asking, is there a mobile home park being looked at in the San Antonio area?
Is there one being? I'm sure there's a lot in the San Antonio area, not one that I'm looking at specifically. But there's Texas. So there's certain markets that are good and great, and not so good, not so great for mobile home parks. Texas is a great market for mobile home parks. Okay. It kind of mirrors the single family housing market, so to speak. But there are a lot of opportunities for parks in Texas.
Awesome. Next one is, where do you find opportunities for mobile home investments as a passive investor?
So I think it kind of goes back to what you spoke about in the opening, of some of these networking events that you guys are putting on is a great place to find investors. There's not nearly as many people, right, in the mobile home park investing space. So you're going to have to do a little digging, a little bit more. But I would look at some of your networking events. I would go online, certain places on, Facebook or LinkedIn, but also these commercial brokers that if you're looking for deals, you're going to be having those conversations. Maybe you're just looking for other investors. Reach out to some of these commercial brokers and find it, see, hey, do you have an investor who's investing in parks that you could connect me to, that like and trust, and that is experienced? And I would reach out to brokers.
Awesome. So we have a couple people asking if is there a way they could get copies of those spreadsheets so that they could look over them, just for studying purposes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Should they shoot you over an email?
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, if they send me an email, we'll get them to. We'll send that spreadsheet to them.
Perfect. All right. Next one, asking, would non-recourse lenders fund mobile home purchases?
So they will. There is non-recourse financing. It's going to be definitely north of 1 million, if not 2 million. It's been pushing more towards 2 million plus to get the non-recourse kind of stuff. And they're pretty picky in the type of parks that they're looking at. A lot of them want to see, concrete streets with curbs, all that kind of stuff, city utilities. But there is non-recourse financing out there.
Okay, awesome.
And there's surprisingly, when I first started looking into this, Pace basically told me that, you're not going to find financing for parks less than $1 million. But that's not true. We just financed $750 on a cash out refinance on a smaller park. And I'm working on refinancing this park right here that I did the case study on right now. It's not as prevalent, the money's not, but it is out there.
Awesome. Next question is, do you recommend building from scratch?
I do not. So to each his own, but I think you're going to find it very, very difficult to make those numbers work. Okay. So number one, if you recall when I was talking about, meaning like the area, the metro that you're in, find an area where the metro is going to support the park. It may be challenging to find your dirt cheap enough. Number one, you're going to, because typically what you're paying for dirt, it just makes more sense to build something that has a higher return, like a commercial property, an apartment, things like that. So that's number one. Number two, if you find a great area, find a great deal on land, you may have challenges with the city or even the county not allowing you to build that park. Okay. So cities and counties despise mobile home parks for two main reasons. Number one, stigma. We've gone through this process where we found cheap land, ideal location, and cities is not going to allow it. So number one is stigma. But number two, that cities and counties typically do not like mobile home parks is because of tax revenue. There's not a real revenue that generated from mobile home parks. Actually, typically a city or county is going to lose money on a park that's in their community. Because if you think about it, if it takes whatever it costs, $6,000 to $8,000 to for per child in the public school system, and tax revenue on a mobile home park per lot or whatever is half that. Just think about it. And then one of the homes has 3 or 4 kids, they're probably losing money. So they don't like mobile home parks for various reasons. You're going to have some challenges there. And then just lastly, like, it's even hard to make your numbers work building from new. Because if you look at the cost of your dirt, you look at your development costs, all that big time frame, and then you get to the most challenging part of this business model in today's day and age, which is infilling lots. We've all heard about supply chain issues, in all different industries, and, mobile homes are no different. The cost of mobile homes has gone up tremendously, the availability of homes, the demand of homes. So it's really, really hard to infill lots. It's the most challenging part of the business now, other than finding good deals. So when it comes to building from the ground up, I don't like to do ground up development anyways. I like to find deals where I can have a very, very good opportunity to be at least break even, like day one. Like, that's one of my key indicators of a deal, is being, if not break even, but very, very close to break even day one, if not cash positive, or have a very, very, very short time frame to get cash positive cash flow. So not a big fan of building ground up. There may be some other folks out there smarter and sharper than me that have success with that, but it's not something that I'm really looking to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a couple questions here asking, how do you go about finding properties, and how do you acquire the funds to then purchase those properties?
Yep. So we do marketing, right? Like I mentioned, we open up lead valves, brokers, other people, wholesalers. So long story short, so far we have bought deals from brokers, from wholesalers, directly through mom and pops. And through mom and pops, we have found deals we've done direct mail. We've done mainly online marketing like SEO. And we even found one on a website that the mom and pop owner posted on a website. So those are the ways that we find deals. Was there another part to that question?
Yeah, how do you go about gathering the funds?
Oh, financing, private money, private capital. We've raised, I've raised somewhere probably getting close to like $50 million over the years. Roughly half that is self-directed IRA, most of which is Quest IRA. So attend more of these events, raise, like I said, at the start of this is if you find a good deal and you're operating, in integrity, transparency, and you're a good person, and you're putting together good deals. That's the private money law of attraction. Like, don't even really worry about money. Like, if there's another, sounds like an investor asking that question. This is what I tell my students, like, over and over and over again. Like, I really don't even like to waste time talking about money too much. I know it's a part of it, so we do talk about it. But if you find really good deals and you're a good person and you're operating right, you're like a sustainable business model with, with like sound financials, sound game plan, and with just integrity, the money's the easiest part, right? The money is absolutely the easiest part. Now, if you're not operating with integrity, you're not getting good deals, then don't go raising private money. But if you can find good deals and you've got a sound business model, like, this is an incredible investment opportunity. The money is of an abundance, good deals and good trustworthy operators. Maybe not so much, a little low on the supply side there. So just operate that way, and the demand is going to be there for people to place their money with you.
Awesome. That makes sense, right? Because like you said, that quest pool of cash it's people looking to lend out, people who don't know the ins and outs of these kind of deals, or maybe they don't feel comfortable investing themselves, right? Doing all this work themselves. So they'd rather just lend this money out because they want to make a return on it. So people are always looking to lend.
Always. And so many years ago, Nathan Long and I, we were doing a private lender lunch and learn every single month, and strictly on private lending. And the first time that we did it, I remember we scheduled a noon to 1 lunch and learn, and I had to be somewhere at 2. It was only like 10 or 15 minutes away. But Nathan and I did this presentation, and it's like 1:45 and nobody's left the room. Like, they're asking questions, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, Nathan, I got to go. So Nathan took over, and he texted me like an hour later. He's like, I'm just finishing up. This turned into a 3-hour event. He's like, we got to keep doing this. So I'm going back years and years ago. So we started doing this event every month. And that's what eventually led me to write the Private Lender Playbook, right? Where Nathan was a co-author of, because there's so much lack of information, to be quite honest. Like, people didn't realize like how great private lending is, because it's actually typically a very predictable rate of return that's coming back to you, and it's secured by real estate. You avoid all the fluctuations of the stock market or Bitcoin or whatever, and you've got that tangible piece that's tied to it. But then when you combine that with how many of the syndicators are doing deals now, like I'm syndicating some deals. So not only are we giving our investors a rate of return, right, and that preferred rate, but they're also getting that equity kicker piece combined with that. It's a great opportunity for people that they don't even, unless they're hopping on webinars like this or coming to some of you guys' events, that they don't even know that opportunities like this exist. They think they have to stick with the 401k or, the stock market. And like, you don't have to do that. Trust me, you don't.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people just have no idea this is even an option.
Yeah.
So another question says, asking, what is the minimum cap rate on an acquisition?
What is the minimum cap rate? Well, whenever I got into it, I was really I wanted something that was 10 to 12 cap rate. I wasn't even going to look at it. And that was, people were like, those don't exist. And I'm like, well, call me naive, but that's what I'm looking for. And thus far, we've been able to go into deals at that cap rate or very close to it. Now, I will say that they've been smaller deals, anywhere from 15 to 52 lots. Okay. That's my span of sizes that I've done so far. When you get into the bigger parks, say 100 plus lots, now you're competing against the hedge funds, the REITs, the syndicators, the big investment groups. Those are, in that 6 range, 5 to 7. And I've seen some that are selling at the 4 cap range, which is just insane, but that's what they're doing. So it's very, very similar, maybe surprising to people, but they're trading very similar to what the apartment space is doing. And, from a selling perspective, it's music to my ears. On the buying side, kind of a tough pill to swallow on some deals, to be quite honest, but that's what it's going for. Our focus though is on the small to medium sized parks, because there's less competition, the less sophisticated competition, I should say, and more opportunities working with the mom and pops where we can still find those 10 cap type of deals.
Awesome. We got tons of questions coming in, so we're gonna roll through them pretty quickly. They're asking, if you own the land, how often are lawsuits filed against you?
I have one lawsuit going on now, so not too often, but there will be some. One, it's more, we've got insurance and we have nothing really to worry about per my lawyer. We were demoing a house. The demo contractor that we hired that was licensed and insured called one of the residents. He knew the guy worked for him for like 20 years, was retired. He's like, hey, you want to come help me out for some day labor? The guy helped him out and got hurt. We had no knowledge of it. We didn't, whatever. So lawsuits will happen. Yeah, lawsuit, the kind of thing, look, get your insurance and just do business the right way. I've been doing this a long time, hundreds of deals, and knock on wood, I've never had any issue with lawsuits. It could happen, but you got to do business the right way.
Yeah, right. As long as you're doing it the way it's intended to, then.
Yeah, I know people in the space who have had some lawsuit issues, but I've heard things and seen things. I'm like, well, maybe they have that coming.
Another one asking, have you ever had problems with like a septic tank going bad from abuse, just from people kind of not caring that, it's not their responsibility?
We only have a septic at one property, which is our RV park. And there's two systems there. One of the systems is brand new. It's routinely maintenance and things like that, but we've had some issues. We've never had major issues with our septic. We've bought 2.5 acre spray field just for our septic. And so it's done right. Just be careful with your contractors. Be sure to set up a good maintenance schedule, but I do not love septics,
for that exact reason.
Yeah, for parks. Well water is even more concerning to me, but septics, I haven't had too many issues I have with well water.
Okay, got it. So we have people asking here, are you looking to raise funds from private money, like with IRAs?
Yeah, so we did two syndications on some land deals last year. I don't have any particular deal targeted right now or identified. That could change today. I could get a call, I could get an email. We look at deals every week, but we're pretty picky. But if someone's interested, just get on my list. You can fill out that questionnaire form or send me an email. I'll add you to our list, and if we have a lending opportunity that comes about, we'll be sure to reach out to you. We email all of our lenders on our list when we have lending opportunities.
Awesome. So another one asking, kind of, how do you compare RV parks versus mobile home parks?
So I do not love the RV park model. And it doesn't mean it's bad. I have some buddies who are in it. One in particular, he absolutely loves it. RV park model is a hospitality model. Okay. Mobile home park model is affordable housing. And it really translates to me as a business owner, to you as the investor, as what is more passive. Okay. So with the RV park model, there are a lot more moving parts, and you talk about the supply conversation again. There's a lot of RV parks being built. Okay. RV parks are also like the next they're a big hot thing. Like they're a sexy thing. You see a lot of RV parks popping up, and people are like, man, that's great. I'm looking at it, I was like, as an investor, no, it's not great. It's supply, it's competition. We don't like that. It's good in the sense that there is demand, but I don't like that, that side of it. And matter of fact, the RV park that I bought 6-9 months later, they broke ground on an RV park less than a mile down the road from us. It's operating now. We're kicking their butt, but I don't like it in terms of you've got people coming in and out.
Yeah.
You've got, parks down the road and they've got a pool or a splash pad, for crying out loud. A friend of mine, Steve on I-10's got one with water slides, Okay, yeah. You talk about lawsuits and headaches, all that kind of stuff. I don't want to be in that space. My RV park is mainly long-term residents. We have people who've lived there for 10 years. So they're living in these RVs, they're not traveling. But yeah, I don't lock them from that model. I like when a mobile home is set, people don't realize this. Typically when a mobile home gets moved, there's like an 80% chance it's never going to get moved again. Okay, so they're not really that mobile. So that's why I like them, because I know with that home is in the park, it's probably going to be there for forever. I'll have a lifetime customer.
Yeah.
If they leave, it's easy to find someone else.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let's see. So we have some that are pretty specific, guys. If you have specific questions for Brant, well, we'll roll up his email again, so you can shoot him over an email.
Yeah.
Let's see. Go through some more general questions. If you sell, ask if you sell the trailers, where's the income coming from to maintain the property?
Lot rent. We charge lot rent. So the trailer's there, right? So they're going to pay $300, $400, $500 a month for lot rent. And if we sell the home, they could buy it cash. We've had that happen a couple of times, or we just owner finance it. And so, for example, that would be an owner finance note. So let's say that we, owner finance a home for $30,000. Is roughly whatever it's going to be, depending on the ammo schedule they choose. It could be $300 a month, and they pay $400 a month for lot rent. So our income is going to be $700 with that particular resident. So $700 income. So what we're competing against, can they find, a 2 or 3 bedroom, 2-bath home for that price? Probably not. It's probably dependent on what market it is, and it's going to be $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 versus $700. Affordable. And then number 2 is like, how are we competing with them versus apartments, right? So that's our thing, is like, we have to be more affordable, much more affordable than a single family home, because if we're close proximity to a single family home is going to run out. I get it. Now, a lot of studies have been done that people prefer actually live in a mobile home versus an apartment. Why is that? You got your own parking space, you got your own green space, you're not sharing walls and ceilings with other people. So, but we still want to be cheaper. Okay, that's our goal. So how are we making money though? If we sell that home, if we own or finance that home, we're actually incorporating it into the sale that home has to stay there for X amount of years, right? Like they're signing a long-term lot lease agreement to not move the home. So that we're ensuring that income. That's number 1. Number 2, let's say they buy it cash or 5 years, whatever, they have a lot lease agreement there. So even if they own the home free and clear, they're still paying that lot rent. And ideally, that's all we want is the lot rent. I mean, that's our business model. Owner finance notes are just kind of additional income or gravy, so to speak.
Yeah. So someone asking, how do you feel about like mobile home parks by coastal areas like Matagorda, Surfside, stuff in that area?
So I have one in the Brazoria County area. And so it's a wind zone 2 area. So what you have to consider is the cost of your insurance, which is skyrocketing, what isn't skyrocketing. So you gotta look at your cost of insurance, and then something that I've seen a couple investors not think about this until they get into a deal. You have to look at infilling lots. If you're in a coastal area, you're only going to be able to use a wind zone 3 home. Okay. Mobile homes are classified wind zone 1, which can be placed anywhere that's wind zone 1. Wind zone 2, okay, which is closer to the coast. A wind zone 1 home cannot be put in a wind zone 2 area. Okay. So we do a lot of marketing for mobile homes to buy in random places and infill in our parks and properties. But if we're buying a mobile home from, let's say, North Katy, that's most likely a one zone 1 home. We cannot move that home to the coast, right? And there's a ton of houses in Houston that inventory that you can buy used, but most of them are wind zone 1. So if you're buying a wind zone 3 park that has a lot of infilling to do, you're going to have a hard time finding inventory. So think about that and think about your insurance.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely wouldn't have even considered that. So let's see here. I'm building a mobile home park for the first from the ground up on 1 acre of land. So where's a good place to start? And I'm assuming, I'm not sure he's talking about area or just like what's the first step.
I don't know. I would say just make sure you have sound financials. I would get with somebody with experience or like a broker. I've got a great broker I can recommend to you, because especially a 1 acre is going to be tough. That's just the size, the density you're only going to roughly 10 lots, maybe 12. I just don't see how you make the financials work. You've got to put in roads, utilities, either septic, sewer, water. Like, I don't see how you're profitable on that.
Yeah.
What we do on land deals and this we're doing in Brazoria, we've got about 30 acres and it's cut up into half-acre tracts, and we're putting mobile homes on it, but we're selling the home and land package, right? Like, it's not a park. They own the home and the land. We're owner financing those. That model's working out really well. But I would say really, really dig into your numbers before you get started.
Awesome. Well, Brad, I know we're over time and you got to get going. I don't want to keep you here too long. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw up your email on here again.
Yep.
So guys, if you see Brant's email showing right here, Brant at investhomepro.com. There's his number. Shoot him an email with all of your questions, guys. Brant, thank you so much for coming out.
Yep. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. So guys, shoot him over an email. If you have questions specific to your IRA, give us a call here at Quest. We'd be happy to help you out. Until then, you guys have a good weekend, and we'll see y'all later.
Y'all take care.